And sometimes you do have to just mix things up a little bit, lighten up the day. I heard her coming down the hall, so I just bent down over the bed, and when she come in, she thought I wasn't in there. So when she got up to the bed, I just stood up and said, "Boo." I was born in Cynthiana, Kentucky, and then I wasn't. My mom just delivered there. She wanted to have all of her children there. My mom and my dad was from Cynthiana, but then we were born and raised. We were raised in Covington. When I was growing up, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. When I got in high school, I thought, I know I wanted to do some kind of secretary work. And then as I got closer to graduating, I knew I wanted to work at St. Elizabeth. My aunt retired from St. Elizabeth, and I'd go down and have lunch with her once in a while. When she was on duty, I'd meet her and have lunch with her, and just the whole atmosphere. I just knew it was something I wanted to get into. I've always said I'm just going to work till I die. My husband says no, but actually I met him when he was visiting someone at the hospice unit. I got to talking to him because he had a loved one there, and I was telling him my experience with, my husband that had passed. He passed in hospice as well years ago. And you want to share your stories because that way they don't feel alone. First he said, "Are you married?" And I said no. And he said, "Do you mind if I get your number?" And we just clicked right there. A couple months went by and he called me and he said, "I miss those talks." Actually, we've only been married not quite a year yet. It was good. My little grandson, 5 years old, he got to walk me down the aisle, so that was pretty awesome. Well, I have 3 wonderful daughters, Jenna, Stephanie, and Jessica. And don't know what I'd do without them. They're my life. We like to hang out and do things together. And they have my 3 grandchildren. Kylie, who's 2. I have Julian, who's 1. And then Max is 5. That's the most awesome job in the world. I cherish those grandchildren. And they do me too. There was a little doubt in the beginning because of it being so sad. And I did at one point thought, I don't know that I can do this. Here I am crying every day. But then my boss assured me that, if you're not crying, something's wrong. There's hardly a day goes by that one of us isn't in tears. But it's worth it. People say to me, "How do you work at hospice? How do you do that?" As sad as it can be, it's just as rewarding to be there with people at that time, of their life when they really need somebody. Well, I went into Remke's one day and I was checking out, and this young boy that was checking me out, he said, "I recognize you." And he said, "Yeah, don't you sit at the front desk there at the hospice unit?" And I said, "Yes, I do." He said, "You're an angel." We all get that a lot. And I'm like, where else can you go? Out in public, no matter where you go, the minute you say you work for St. Elizabeth Hospice, that's what you get, and that just makes the job all more special.